This video might explain more about anxiety or depression than any other video on a coping skill ever could. By the end of this video, you'll have 3 specific tools to finally align life with what really matters to you. I'm a therapist, and I want to say this clearly, early, and without reservation. Depression and anxiety are not signs that you are weak. They're not a lack of faith. They're not a moral failing. But they can be signals that something important inside of you is out of alignment. When you're feeling your worst, you often say things like, "What's the point?" Or, "I don't even care." But people don't fall apart because they don't care. They suffer because they do care. And their life doesn't match that. This causes cognitive dissonance. One of the 28 laws of mental health is what I call the law of alignment. Mental health thrives when thoughts, your values, your beliefs, and your actions point in the same direction. Gandhi said it this way. He said, "Happiness is when you think and what you say and what you do are in harmony." ACT therapy has spent decades studying this exact idea. And the research is surprisingly clear. When people consistently act against what matters to them, even for good reasons, or to survive, or even to keep the peace, anxiety and depression quietly increase. This is where a lot of people quietly start to panic because the thought often shows up like this: if I were a good person, wouldn't I feel better than this? Here's what ACT therapy would say. Your nervous system isn't punishing you, it's protesting. It's saying something that matters to you isn't being lived. And that cognitive dissonance feels like a threat. In ACT research, one of the strongest predictors of long-term well-being isn't symptom elimination. It's something called values-based action. People feel better not because anxiety disappears, but because they start moving in the direction that makes sense again. Meaning often comes before relief. So let's get practical. I want to give you 3 simple therapeutic tools that help restore alignment without asking you to be perfect. If this already feels like it's naming something true for you, like this video so that others can find it as well. Tool number 1 is the integrity audit. Step 1 is to list your top 3 to 5 values. If you want a place to start, research consistently highlights 3 values that deeply matter. First, compassion, treating others the way you'd like to be treated, because it builds connection, reduces isolation, and lowers threat response. Honesty, because being real with yourself and others reduces internal conflict and self-betrayal. And forgiveness, letting go of chronic resentment, because unforgiveness keeps the nervous system stuck in threat and response. So step 2 to the integrity audit is to look at yesterday, not your whole life, for each value, and ask, how aligned were my actions on a scale from 1 to 10? No explanations, no self-attack. And then step 3 is to choose just a 1% adjustment for today. ACT calls this committed action. You don't need motivation for this, just honesty. Tool number 2 is the compass question. When anxiety or depression get loud, they try to drive the bus. So we interrupt with one question. If this emotion weren't in charge, what direction would I choose right now? Not how do I feel better, but what matters here? Then take the smallest possible step in that direction. This is how people rebuild trust in themselves. And tool number 3 is the values gap repair. Sometimes alignment doesn't mean doing more, sometimes it means repairing. ACT teaches that shame grows when we confuse misalignment with identity. So try this instead. Name the gap. I value honesty and I avoided a hard conversation. Normalize it. Misalignment is information, not a verdict. And then repair. Is there a value consistent action I can take now, even a small one? Repair restores integrity faster than perfection ever could. If your anxiety or depression feels confusing right now, it may not be because something is wrong with you. It may be because something important inside of you is asking to be lived again. Mental health doesn't require moral perfection. It requires direction. If this gave you language for something you felt you couldn't explain, you're not alone. You can subscribe for more principle-based tools like this, or share this with someone who's been quietly carrying the same gap. And remember, alignment isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming someone I want to live with.